That was my band.
Was it?
Yeah, with my partner Dan Connolly and your band Nervous Rex playing at the Mud Club, all on the same page of the Village Voice. Who would have thunk it?
That's
Isn't
right.
that kind of cool?
And where's the proofreader? Spelled wrong.
I know it's spelled wrong. No, but I mean, I think actually kind of amazing that we're on the same page. We're on the same page, so to speak. So.
But we're not that old.
We're not that old, no.
Well, my given name isn't that catchy, really. It's sort of forgettable, but Trixie A. Bomb. I mean, come on. Everybody wants to meet this person.
So it was a bomb, not a bomb.
It could be anything. It had many different levels of meaning, and I like that.
So tell us a little bit about your beginnings as a writer, Trixie A. Bomb. Or Trixie A. Bomb.
Well, I loved rock and roll, and I loved to write. And what happened was the second concert I ever went to was David Bowie, Diamond Dogs, and I was moved to write a review of it. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I sent off this review to the music editor, Village Voice. And Bob Chrisko just started at The Voice, and for some crazy reason he answered my letter and said, well, you know, you should think a little more and write a little less, but why don't you call me up? Maybe I'll give you an assignment. So I was like, yes. Well, I actually made it in story form.
You've prepared some notes here.
Well, you know why I did this, because I'm part of the Connecticut Storytelling Center, and we have professional storytellers.
I've heard of storytelling. It's a thing.
It's a very big thing, and unfortunately, I have no memory for memorizing.
You know that storytelling is named after me.
That's right. That's amazing.
Yes,
I'm glad to meet you.
I've freely licensed it to people.
75, I was a freshman at SUNY Purchase. I was 5'4", 105 pounds, with long light brown hair parted in the middle, and a real baby face. Though I just turned 19, I looked like a 14-year-old waif. I wore these long, flowy skirts and dresses, either from thrift stores or my mom's closet, and I was a very serious, tiny young woman. But in my spare time, I worked as a rock writer, Trixie A. Bomb. I had been sent by the Village Voice to interview that one-of-a-kind rock and roll animal, Lou Reed. My photographer friend Ron Fortunato went with me, another hippie college student from SUNY Perch, who had a good 35mm camera, a Pentax. In 1975, the godfather of punk, Lou Reed, was a famous New York rocker, and when I met him, he was in his mid-30s. Lou Reed chain-smoked Marlboros, wore a motorcycle jacket, and looked like a speed freak with a 10, not a 5 o'clock shadow. Lou had been asked by his publicist at RCA Records to please cooperate and do this interview for the Village Voice. Now, I had no idea about Lou Reed's rep as a nasty and bitter rocker with a hatred of the press. For a fact, he was well known for being horrible to interviewers. I just didn't know that. Back then, we didn't have internet, and there's no way of sharing that information with a young college student like me. I just liked his music, and I loved to write. So, well, since you're all in the know with the music business, you know that what Lou Reed was doing in 1975, right? He was in between Rock and Roll Animal, the live album, and Metal Machine music, which, well, anyway. I really hadn't heard too much of Lou Reed, except I loved Berlin because it was depressing, and I was into that. And Walk on the Wild Side, of course, but my favorite was Sally Can't Dance, the album. And one song in particular I really adored. It was called Kill Your Sons. And it was about being in a mental hospital. Now, I really appreciated somebody cool writing about mental hospitals. So when Ron, my photographer friend, and I got to the offices of RCA Records, Barbara Folk, a polished-looking New York publicist, met us at the reception desk, and she did a quick double take. Now remember, my appearance, I looked like this, 14-year-old hippie kid, and my friend Ron looked like another crazy hippie with his long dark hair and big smile. Anyway, she had a professional music biz smile in place, this publicist, Barbara Folk, and she warned me, Don't talk about the Velvet Underground. Lou doesn't like that. And she showed us to the RCA conference room. It was a cavernous corporate meeting room with an oversized table and like 14 huge swiveling leather chairs around it. Lou slinked in, smoking a cigarette, looking like a leather boy rock star in his black motorcycle jacket, tight black jeans, and pointy, high-heeled black leather boots. He looked to me like he was definitely in a costume, like he was putting it on, but he was still cool. And he poured a little bottle of Jack Daniels into a half-guzzled can of Coke. And my friend Ron, with his camera, was pacing around the perimeter like a panther, aiming and focusing his camera. I had my little cassette recorder all ready, set up on the big conference room table with my notebook and my pen. I was all poised. Lou sat back in one of the fancy tilting leather chairs, put his feet up on the big table, crossing one boot over the other, and then he was ready. I turned on the cassette recorder. The interview starts with Lou mumbling his answers. Where did you grow up? Brooklyn, Kings Highway. Did you leave home as soon as you could? Sooner. That sort of thing. He was looking more interested in his pointy black boots and his cigarettes. So I'm just nervously making small talk, which Lou interrupts by saying, "You're not asking me anything you're going to print up." So I agree, and I say, "I'm afraid to ask what I really want to know." So Lou drones on in his cool rock store monotone. "They want to know, are you taking dope? Are you a fag? What do you think of David Bowie? Why'd you tie up and shoot up on stage?" I tell him, "Hey, I don't really care about what everybody wants to know." And I tell him I thought it was really good theater, tying up on stage during his song Heroin, though it might have been a bit hokey. Lou mutters, "Got its point across, wasn't hokey." Then I ask him, why did he write about homosexuality? "Why shouldn't I?" came the quick comeback. And so I'm feeling like everything I ask or comment on is being met with a challenge or a contradiction. Acting like a king asshole. What the fuck? How dare he mess with Trixie A-Bone? So out of frustration, not thinking I was just pissed off, I'd had it. I lose it and I let him have it. I raise my voice and I say, "You think you're the only one who's ever gone through shit, who's had problems, you know? Read this." So I handed him a letter from Creedmoor Hospital outpatient, thanking him for the ward's theme song, "Kill Your Sons." "Probably just an attack," Lou mutters, but as he reads the letter, his expression softens. Makes me feel better that somebody actually put out like that, writing from a mental hospital, he tells me. Later, he asks if he could keep that letter. Magic. From then on, no more mumbling. Lou actually sits up straight and he looks at me, though the mirrored shade stayed in place. Now, I'm not telling Lou that the letter was from my big brother and that I'd also been in the mental hospital myself a few years earlier. But when I ask Lou if he'd ever been hospitalized, he shakes his head, ignoring the question. Instead, he informs me that in Sweden, they play Berlin in mental hospitals because it makes them feel better. So I wound up finding an ember of humanity glimmering beneath those mirrored shades, and I wound up writing, "Although haggard and disillusioned, Lou Reed remains an undaunted rock poet, whipping up ecstatic rock and roll with integrity." So we part ways with a warm reciprocal handshake.